Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Coffee and Conversation, or Coffee and Convo. And this is our second segment. And we're really excited to talk to you about this topic, which is cybersecurity. So again, remember, this is just real people and real conversations. So we just want to share our hearts and concerns with all of you. And hopefully you take away something that will help you with your children and yourself at home. So today I would like to introduce you to everyone that's here with me with their coffee cups from Palette. And because, of course, Coffee and Convo is best at Palette. So if you want to do that, come anytime. So I'm going to start with my friend here, Andrea, and she'll share a little bit about herself.
All right, thank you. Currently, I work as a full-time cybersecurity professional with a large corporation in the DoD defense industry. I essentially work full-time as a program manager, and typically we're looking at cybersecurity from that standpoint. I'm also a mother and a grandmother, and so I do definitely have a passion to make sure the parents have all of the tools they need to protect their children. So we're really looking forward to having this conversation today.
Absolutely.
We are too. My name is Heather Tabers, and I am a mother of 5. My kids are ranging from age 12 up to 20. So this is a really important topic in our house. Everyone has a device. Actually, everyone has multiple devices, exactly. And it's hard to keep track of all of them. And I do have a lot of questions, so I'm glad that you're here so we can ask those important questions about keeping our kids safe. And in addition to being a mom, I'm a volunteer here with Palette, and I'm just really excited to get this information out because I know I'm not the only one looking for answers.
And I am Sandy Fink, and I am a Love Missions awareness educator with Tina. And I also have a vested interest because I have 2 adult children, but also I am an educational experience specialist with Seminole County Public Schools. And I work with kids all the time who say, "What's wrong with me posting that picture, Miss Fink?" And I'm like, let's talk about that. So we have a lot of conversations where they'll be honest with me. I hear a lot of things that I want to cringe. And I want to make sure that I learn from Andrea exactly how I can address this with them and also their parents, because I have parents who ask me, well, how do I monitor? How do I handle this? And that kind of thing. And so I think also as adults, I think I look at adults that post things and I'm like, I don't think you want to post that. And so how do you have those conversations with people without insulting them, but at the same time educating them?
Yes.
Right.
And educating ourselves.
Right.
Yes. Absolutely.
So I thought I would start with talking about some of the things that could make a child vulnerable to someone luring them in through an app or online or whatever the case may be. So the top vulnerabilities are parent tensions, and what that is that's normal. When teens, middle school and high school, they start trying to spread their own wings. They don't like when their parents start giving them, but tell them what they can and can't do, because now they think, they're 13 and they know everything and they don't need their parents to guide them any
Well, they
longer.
do, don't they?
Right, it's technology.
That's true.
Mom!
We do ask them for
I
help.
showed you how to install your application.
Here, Mom, I'm going to show you how to do this.
Yes, that is true. And so anyway, with that parent tension, a pedophile or a trafficker could use that against them by saying, "Oh, your parents are so mean," or your parents don't understand you, or, use that tension that is a normal tension with children that you work through. But a trafficker could take that, or a pedophile take that, to use that against the child. So another thing is not good supervision. And so a lot of times today, and I see it all the time in restaurants, even in restaurants, even in parks, anywhere where there's children and adults, I will see parents that may want their child, either they're on the phone and not paying attention to their child, or their child's on the phone and they're not paying attention to them. And so I see this happening in younger and younger children. They use it for a babysitter a lot of times. And I understand, especially right now with with COVID,
Yes.
parents are having to work at home and also having their children at home, and they're trying to get their job done, but then
And their kids are on those devices
are on
all
this
day.
device all day
Yes.
for school. And how do you manage all that? It's really difficult. But when they're not being watched, we don't know who's trying to communicate
Right,
with
so
them, which
true.
is something I know we're gonna talk about more. Another vulnerability could be divorce. So, the family's been together, all of a sudden their parents get divorced, and they are feeling like their family's torn apart, which it is.
Right.
And so they're hurting,
Mhm.
and they're upset with both their parents because they're not together any longer, which could be a very easy way for a trafficker to be there and soothe them and tell them
Yes.
they understand what's going on, and they would try to work through that with them. Another opportunity for a trafficker or pedophile could be substance abuse of the parents or the child.
Right.
Maybe the child's dabbling in drugs, or maybe their parents are doing drugs or dealing drugs. It doesn't matter. That leaves that child vulnerable. Either way, neglect. Neglect could be neglect. The parents are never around. They're doing their own thing. They're not watching their child. Their child's home a lot by themselves, and so they're left to the device. Or it could be that not intentional neglect, but it could be that the parents are off working and the child is left at home. So anytime the child is left vulnerable and there's no one overseeing them, whether it's meant neglect or just because out of circumstances it's that way, it
Right.
leaves a child vulnerable to pedophiles and traffickers. And then we have what we talk about a lot is romantic relationships or friendships even. So maybe a child's home 12 hours a day by themselves because their parents work, and they just want friends. And so they meet people online, whether it's just to have a girlfriend, and then that person could use that opportunity to bring them to somebody else. And so those are just a few ways that pedophiles and traffickers can use to lure our kids in and use those vulnerabilities to bring them into trafficking or a pedophile to take advantage of them.
Right.
What do you guys want to share anything?
Well, I think that last one that you mentioned about the friendship aspect or romantic relationships, it's not always that bad boy that's luring the good girl in like we think it might be. It's so often a friendship that they believe is a true friendship.
Right.
My own children have had experiences on Facebook where we did not let them join groups like fandom groups on Facebook and things like that because you don't know who any of those people are. And of course, being teenagers, a couple of them would try to sneak in, and because they really like this TV show and they want to be a part of it, and they're connecting with people and people are messaging them and they're like, no mom, it's just another 15-year-old girl, and she lives in Seattle, and what, it's so harmless mom, why are you so upset? And it's like, you don't know that if that's really another 15-year-old girl. And I know that's one way that these predators lure our kids in by pretending to be someone they're not.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say that was the thing that I kept kind of coming back to when you were both talking, is that anonymity that comes from being on the internet,
Right.
and the accounts that people are creating and the conversations that they're having a conversation with the child as if they can relate. And there's a lot of research that person is doing on that side of the computer to make sure that when they're having that conversation with that child, they know how to speak to the person that's in that age group. So they'll know, when they've created that account, that they specifically kept that age group in mind as they're reaching out to your child, and they're having conversations, whether they started in one of the chat rooms online, or whether they went into a game that they're playing with the most common games that they have out there today, like Fortnite and Minecraft and RuneScape. They're actually going in and you can go purchase an account from the dark web and go find that account, use that account that was originally created by somebody of that age, and actually using skins and using all of the settings that were actually for that child. They now own that account because they've just gone and purchased it, and now they're using it against the other children in those.
So, Andrea, is it an account? So, a child made the account.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're a 14-year-old. It's a real account.
Right.
And then in the dark web, do they clone it? So, let's say I'm going to make a kid's name up, David. So, let's say David's 14 and he has an account.
Mm-hmm.
And he really still is on Minecraft. Is it cloned in the dark web?
No, they've just taken it over. They've actually locked out. They changed the password. They've locked out the person that originally created it. They've now become
That is so
that
scary.
person.
Wow.
So when David goes on, he thinks his account's locked out and he has to start a new one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then it's been
Goodness.
stolen and been used. And so if someone's looking at that, they're going to think it's David.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
Wow.
So when your
That's
kid
scary.
has been
That
friends
is
with
scary.
David
There
for
are
so long,
2
now it's not
billion
really the same
accounts. This
person.
is a whole industry right now in
My
the dark web,
goodness.
where they'll go. They've stolen 2 billion. I have some of the.
Yeah, tell us.
Yeah.
Just tell us.
Some of the-
This is something that I don't think most people know at all.
No.
No, I think
They don't realize that it's their child's accounts can be
and
stolen.
I think Fortnite is one of the biggest ones.
Yes.
That's the most expensive because they can do those skins so that you
What's
become
a
an
skin?
avatar. A skin is like they've gone and put this kind of hair. They've made this outfit. You
Oh,
can
okay.
actually go get special details like wings or something, and they actually went and purchased.
Oh my goodness.
So they spent a lot of money.
So that
sometimes
became
on-
their person.
Right. That's their avatar. that
Avatar,
They,
okay.
They're using. 2 billion breached accounts.
Oh wow.
2
For
billion. Did you
Billion.
hear that?
Billion.
Not million, billion.
Billion.
And so what
accounts.
happens to the child? Does he go on and see his account and think someone stole it? Like, what does he think?
Yeah, well, a lot of times they'll just say that account's been basically hacked. It's been taken
Oh,
over.
create a new
They'll
one.
know. Yeah.
And
Create a
so,
new
and
one.
what they think the child would just think, oh, well, I just start a new one. No one knows.
Right.
The parent doesn't know. They just are like, oh, I'm
And
locked out of
after
this account.
tears and
Yes.
I
just
spent so
knowing
much
that-
money on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because they can't go hack the hacker. I mean,
No.
they're not going to be able to get it back.
And
so.
so-
Now,
Oh,
would that
goodness.
child ever see his account? Like, would he ever know
yeah,
it?
yeah. Oh, I'm sure. They
So he could
go
see his
in
own
and-
account being used.
I'm sure if they went into Fortnite and they ended up going into some of the same areas, they might be able to see themselves on.
So
I
let me-
don't,
Oh my
I don't
goodness.
know. I haven't been in Fortnite.
So let me tell you the scary part of that. If I'm David's friend, I'm going to think that's David.
Right.
And I'm going to
Right.
communicate with David.
Right,
Exactly.
exactly.
That's the,
Yes.
Can I just say that's the scariest part?
Yes,
because
yeah,
they're
absolutely.
talking to them thinking
Thinking it's David.
Yeah.
And then when they say, David, let's go meet up
Yes.
somewhere, they think it's
They think
David,
it's David.
and it's not David.
Yeah, I think. And
And
I
so
think
what
the
do
fact
parents
that
do?
age and everything that the people then can become that age group, and they can I mean, anyone, not even just the person with that account or people that knew that person. I'm just assuming that the space and the different servers that people are going to get on, that they can go pretty much anywhere, and they're going to be attractive to people that are in that age group regardless.
Right.
So could they protect their friends? So let's David says, "Oh, I got hacked." Should he let his friends know?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Like that's
Yeah,
a security measure right there.
I would
Right.
think-
That's
I've been
really
hacked.
good.
That's a great
If you
point.
see anything from me,
It's not
Yeah.
me
not
anymore.
me.
If
Like
you see
warning
my
them.
account-
Yes,
That's a
yes.
conversations
That's a
for
great
parents
point.
to
Yes,
have with their
parents
children
need to hear
as
this
well.
Yeah.
and know if their child's been hacked out of a game, that they need to let their real friends know that that's not them
Yeah.
any
Yeah,
longer.
that's not my account.
Yeah, that's not
don't
my
accept
account.
anything from me.
Yes.
Right.
Don't meet up with me.
Yes. Yes, that's good.
And-
That's
yeah,
really
no,
important
for
that
sure.
parents know this
Yeah.
because
Absolutely. I had no
until
idea.
tonight I did not know this part. So
I didn't
Yeah,
either.
that was,
And I didn't know they were buying it. So that's all in the dark web.
yes.
And it could be any game.
It could be the games that
What's hot
people
right
are
now?
to-
Fortnite and Minecraft?
Fortnite, Minecraft, RuneScape,
And,
there was
uh
the
Ark's Survivor.
yeah.
Something like that. That was another one we were talking about because I had heard of a story where they could get more money if they
Right.
brought in a stranger. So they're dropped into this world, and then they need to get other people that are in that world to connect with them, and they get more points to rise up further on their game. And when they do that, they're interacting with strangers. And so the particular stranger that I read about, he knew how to manipulate. He talked about how he would manipulate the person or the child and knew just the right things to say to get them to respond and to start building this relationship. That I'll have this person meeting me somewhere within 2 months.
Wow.
And so
Like a
they
challenge.
started at the beginning. Yeah, it's a challenge, but the challenge is to get that child so
Mhm.
they can traffic them or take advantage of them.
Yeah, these
Yeah.
aren't random strangers. These
No.
are professional groomers
Yes.
Right.
that literally do this all day.
Yes.
And
Well,
it's
and the
just hard to
technology that's
imagine.
available to them, they can,
Yes.
and all they really have to do is have your child click on a link that allows them access to your network, allows them access to the computer, to their webcam, to access to what they have access to on their computer,
Oh my goodness.
which then allows them to monitor things that are being done on that computer. That I think that's also scary, because those kids may not even have to speak to that person for that person to be able to learn about them.
So like spyware in their computer?
Yeah.
Holy
They
crud.
basically, you got a link. They've got them to click on a link.
Okay.
It downloads software. It executes on their computer.
Yeah.
And then they can then control the computer
Wow.
from that. It's command and control. They've basically taken over.
Okay,
And
what
so
can
the
we do
child
to
may
protect
not-
our
The
kids?
child may not know about this either because they've started a conversation. They've built up a friendship.
Correct.
And
They
then this
trust it.
person
Right.
that they trust now that they're good friends with, they've been best friends for 2 weeks now online. And the
Right.
friend says, I'm going to send you a link. So we have our own private, we can have our own private conversation.
Chat room. Yeah.
And that's what she's talking about. Once they send that link and they click onto that, then the computer is
Yeah.
taken over by this
Oh my
person.
goodness.
I get them to go into other apps and download this app on your phone. And now that they've trusted them, there's
Right.
just so many different ways they
Yeah.
can have anonymous conversation with the child that
Yes.
they've now.
So I'm a parent. I'm listening to this. I'm freaking out. Okay, what can they do? What can they
Yes.
do on their computers
we
to
protect
help
our
check
kids?
for this?
Number one thing that I think everyone needs to have a good antivirus and keep it updated. Keep your operating systems updated. Microsoft will come out with 0-day fixes. They'll basically be available. You should always be keeping up your Microsoft, your Mac operating systems, keeping them up to date. Always have, in my opinion, have automated downloads, automatic updates coming up, so you don't even have to worry about it.
Right.
The antivirus is really the most important thing. Even on a Mac, I think a lot of people think they have a Mac, they don't have to worry about antivirus.
Right.
Mhm.
Definitely get that as well. But that's going to allow your computer to then capture when they're going to websites that they're not supposed to go to. You can get
Yes.
not just an antivirus application, but something that has total protection that will tell you what websites are malicious. That's going to try, those applications are trying to download something to your computer. So it's not just that there's a virus on your computer, but then something is trying to put something on your computer. Those are the kinds of applications that are going to notify you when something malicious is happening.
So if he clicks that link and your hardware, your spyware is up to date, or your malicious, all that protective antivirus,
yeah,
it would alert you.
yep,
Okay.
absolutely, yeah.
And then the other thing that you can do is you can put on your device. There's many of them that you can use, but Bark is one that I tell people to use. So it's Bark, like a dog bark, .us, and you can go and research that. But that program can be put across all your devices. So it can go on your child's phone, computer, tablet, whatever your child's using, and then it monitors also the conversations that are going on, and then you can have them flag certain words like drugs or sex or whatever it may be, and the program will actually flag it. Your child won't know, and then it'll send you a notice that you might want to check into this. So that's another really good device that you could put on a really good program that you could put on your devices to help protect your child.
And what I loved when I looked at it was that it's actually affordable. I mean, sometimes we hear all these ways that you can protect your family, and there's no way you can afford it. But it's nice to find ways that we can affordably do these things to protect our children.
Yeah. So what are some of the ways that we know traffickers lure our children? Some of the places.
Well, we know on the chat rooms, like Discord gaming apps. I mean, I've read so many stories. I was just visiting a friend, and it happened to, a boy who was talking to someone on Discord, and exactly what you said. He wasn't happy. Mom and dad weren't giving him the perfect world and the perfect everything. And he decided he was going to run away from home because running away from the home solves everything. And he had a pretty good life. It wasn't like he had a bad life, but it was someone he met on Discord that appeared to be better than what he had. And just the simple conversation. But what was interesting was he'd been talking to them for a year.
Wow.
This hadn't been just overnight. He had been
He
talking.
really felt like this was a good friend.
Oh, his best friend.
Right.
You know, his best friend. He had his mind and, had his best interest in mind. And when he got there and got a bus ticket and everything, it was nothing of that.
And Discord is a game, you said?
Discord is so if you're in gaming, Discord is an app in which you can chat. It's a chat room.
Okay.
So you could talk about gaming.
Got it.
Right.
Got
So
it.
that's just one of the many.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any messaging app.
And there's so many chat rooms. I actually learning about how many are out there, that the specific reason the chat room is there, and that like their biggest selling point is that you can get into this chat room anonymously.
Yes.
Yes.
So they say you have to be a certain age. They don't check to see
They
what
don't
age
check
you
to see
are.
if you're age.
Yes.
No.
And they're saying you can video chat
Yes.
with people in your area. So now you've geolocated yourself
Yeah.
and the people that you're talking
Yes.
to. So they
Wow.
know that you're local to them. And now
Yes.
you're anonymously talking to them like it's a dating chat, a dating site.
Right.
And they're supposed to be able to video with whoever. And then all of a sudden it's anonymous. There's no way to find those people.
So let's talk about that, because that's one of the things that I always have conversations with adults and children about geolocating. What are the biggest mistakes? I'm posting on Facebook, I'm posting on Snapchat, I'm posting on Instagram. What are the biggest security? Because that's my question, because I know people have told me, don't do this, don't do that. I've learned from people in the industry. So my question is, what are the biggest mistakes people make in security? Kids and adults.
Yeah, I would say that just the background, what's behind you, what streets are behind you, what businesses are behind you, what can people take away from that to find you in the moment, tagging yourself in a location and a social media to say where you're at. Teach your kids that, and I know that adults like to do it. They might even get a discount if they do it, but teach your kids especially that somebody that is stalking you or wants to know where you're at in the moment can find you in those ways. And then state license plate numbers, things that are behind you. Again, you've just got to have that awareness.
Andrew and I were just talking about, like, if you go on vacation, don't post the pictures till after you get home.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Great, your house is empty.
Yeah.
Those kind of simple little things.
Yeah.
You don't think about, because you're so excited to be on vacation to
You
post
want
the
everyone to
pictures.
show
Right.
everybody.
Yeah.
And kids are even more, because if they're walking down the street from their home, they want everyone to know that they're just walking down the street from their home. So a lot of times they post everywhere they're at a lot. So we just have to be careful.
Snapchat.
Yes.
It shows everything.
Snapchat is every second of your life.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're taking pictures.
Yes.
I made a complete rookie mistake as a mom. My kid got his driver's license and I was like, hold it up, I'll take a picture, and my husband was like, get that off there. I'm like, he's holding it back here. I'm way over there. Like, you can't see it. And he's like, honey, anyone can zoom in and find that. And I thought, oh my, like, I should know better, but we do those things.
But we all do it.
And I
we
think
all do it.
as parents,
Forget.
we don't think in a malicious way, and we forget that other people in the world do. And so it's hard to kind of ruin our kids' safe little bubble by letting them know that there are so many malicious people out there, but we have to if we're going to keep them safe.
I would say parental controls and security controls in every single social media going through. And I know that there's so many and so many different ways that each of these social media sites are doing their privacy settings. So you're going to want to get on YouTube, check the steps to go through and check your privacy settings, go through it with your kids, make sure that they understand those privacy settings, the location settings on your phone.
Yes, I was going to mention that. So yes.
Never, never.
Set 'em to never. Especially on your photos, because if you're going to upload a photo somewhere, you could then look at the.
Well, you can explain that on photos,
the
how
meta
they
tag.
can find.
Isn't it they can still find it too? Isn't that true?
Yeah,
That there's geolocation on a photo even if you have the location off?
I don't know if the location is off, but
I
is
don't
it?
know if the
But
location.
I know when
if
the
you haven't
location
turned it
is
how you would
on,
do that.
they can find the
Coordinates.
photo, even if you've even if it's long ago, they can still find the location. So
if it
you
was on in the moment while you
Right.
were taking it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we have to make sure that your location on your children's phone doesn't need to be on,
Right.
You don't need to have that location on.
Or
So-
on any of the apps, probably. I mean,
any of the apps and all that. Yes. To make sure that they're safe.
But then the dilemma is, because I've had this conversation with parents, if their location is off and the parent wants to find the child's phone, that's a quandary, isn't it?
Yeah, you want
Yeah.
it on your tracking apps that you have for your own phone.
Yeah.
So that would be separate.
Right. That's on your
Yes.
phone.
We
and
want
not their
parents to
phone.
Got
track,
it.
not predators.
Yes.
Okay. And the parents will talk about that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
why I
absolutely.
want to bring that
That's
up
a great
because,
Yes, that is a
yeah,
really good
because
point.
what if I want to know where my child is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my son is 20, and I still know where he is in Alaska.
So
Nothing wrong
as,
with that.
So important.
as we talk about this, we kind of been bringing that up, what parents can do, because again, let's be clear what they can do to help their children so that these terrible, scary things that we're talking about, there are things we can do. So we can, just what you said, take your GPS off your, turn it off on their phone so that everybody doesn't know where they're at.
Correct.
So they can't be tracked by the wrong person. One of the things when I speak, I always say have open communication with your
Yes.
child,
Yes.
because if you start with open communication with your child where they feel that you are a comfortable place to go to with no judgment,
Right.
they're going to come to you first. But traffickers and pedophiles, if they think that they're going to get in trouble by you finding out that something happened, they're not going to come to you. And then the
Right.
trafficker or pedophile can use that against them, blackmail them,
Right.
use whatever they want to try and hold that over their head, which makes them get deeper in with that person because they're afraid to go to you. And we want them to go to
Right.
their parents first and feel that's a safe place that they can go, where they can say this, someone sent me a naked picture and it made me uncomfortable, and go talk to you about that rather than not saying anything. And then the person pretty soon uses that, keeps doing a little bit deeper until they feel like they're stuck in a really bad situation they can't get out of.
And going along with that, what is too personal of information to share in a chat room? I know this person is familiar to you, but what is too personal to
I
share?
think it's amazing what they can put together from day 1 to day 7. So I think any kind of information about your school, your mascot,
Yes.
it's
Even your real
really-
name.
Yes.
Yeah,
Age,
exactly.
name, address,
Anything
phone
around
number.
you, your favorite restaurant.
Yes, even like your favorite sports team, because a lot of times it'll be like a college sports
area.
team. It'll be like in the area.
Sure.
Or even when I was doing research, it said, like they could use your favorite restaurant and then like what's the weather like, where you're at today. And then they can start zooming in. Okay, this restaurant's here. The weather was snowing on this day, so they have to be in this particular area. So
Wow.
they can like start narrowing down where that child is by just things that they say
Right.
to this person.
Right. And like I like what you said, Tina, like let's say this person starts asking uncomfortable questions that they know they can just come to you and say, look, mom, dad, this is just, it doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah.
And to be honest, and it's not that you're a psycho parent.
No.
Right.
You're not trying to be psycho parent. You just want to protect them.
Yes.
And I think if we have that open conversation, that's so
Yeah.
important.
And I think as parents, we have to give ourselves that little pep talk ahead of time, knowing that someday this could be our kid coming to us.
Yes.
We have to think about what we're going to say and how we're going to respond in that moment.
Right.
Because if we lose it on them once, they're
Yes,
not going to ever
it's
come
done.
back,
Yeah.
So we have to make sure as parents we're prepared and that we give them everything that we can give them to help them be prepared. But we definitely have to make sure that line of communication stays open and that feeling of safety stays there.
Yes. And the thing is because if your child is just this great child and you don't expect them to ever make the wrong decision, but then they come to you and say, I texted this naked picture of myself to this boy that I met online, and you're like, what? You did what? And you start freaking out because that is in your head.
That's what your head's doing.
Right.
In your head, you might be freaking out, but you need to remember to act calmly and say, okay, well, how did this, and start talking. Why did this happen? How did we get to this place? And then figure out how you're going to help them.
And if she freaks out, she's going to clam. I mean, if you freak out, she's going to clam up. And there could be more to this story that she's not going to share. Because if you freaked out about the picture, then you're going to be really mad that she went and saw him yesterday. And
so
you need to make sure that you can handle that.
And also boundaries. One of the things I had conversations recently with some parents just in my job and everything is like, well, if they want to download something, they cannot download it without mom researching it, checking it out, showing them what it is. So like having the boundaries of, okay, if this happens, we're going to do this. Kind of like be proactive.
Yes.
Because they're going to come to you. Like I just recently found out from one of my students that I work with that you can buy additions and things where you can program and you can add things. And I'm like, what? But it's all things they buy to be add-ons to be able to program in Minecraft and create worlds and create stuff. But he can't do that without mom's permission.
But mom and dad have to be consistent.
Right. Yes.
Oh my goodness. I fell into that where I said, you have to ask me before you download any apps. Okay, got it, Mom. Can I have this app? Yes. Can I have this app? Yes. Can I have this? And it got to the point where I was just not even looking at them anymore. I'm like, I'm sure it's fine. And then later I'm like, what have I just done?
Right.
Right. And it's hard.
Yes.
It takes time.
Well,
but our kids are worth it.
And we always want to make our kids happy. We don't want them to be mad. And they'll tell you, oh, but my friend has that app and I really want to have that app too. And we're not trying to take everything away from them. They can actually have the app, but you need to make sure the privacy settings are on, that you're monitoring what they're doing on it. It's not taking every single thing away from your child, but it's making sure that you're doing what you need to do to keep your child safe. And another thing I wanted to bring up real quick, and then we'll kind of do a last round of what you think is important to get out to everybody. But I have young moms that say, well, my child's not on, they're not playing any games and they're not on apps. So this really doesn't apply to me. Right. And so, but I do see young moms with 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds that are on their phones or on an iPad or a tablet. And, right now, they don't know how to communicate with that person that might be online, but at some point they're going to be, and they're becoming very comfortable with these things right now. So if you set now when your child is only 2 or 3 and you are allowing them on that to watch YouTube or a video or whatever it may be, set those foundations now that they're not allowed to go to certain places and start teaching them now when they're little that they're not going to be allowed to do these things. And then when they're teenagers, you're not going to be fighting as hard about it because you brought them up knowing I'm just not allowed to do this. I'm not allowed to do whatever. They get comfortable with that. They have boundaries on their tablet, and you start teaching them at a young age. You're not going to be fighting with them when they're 10 years old or 11 years old because that's what they know. They know that's
it's their normal.
This is the way our family does it.
Yes.
And I would say also make sure that they learn from the beginning that computers are used in a public area in your house. They're a shared space in your house.
That's good too.
Not to set up a place for them to be on the internet in their room in a corner that you're not going to be able to monitor. If they're even as they get older into middle school, that just becomes an at the table kind of thing, or in a space where everybody's
not
around.
Privately used. That's true. That's really good. That's really good.
Yep.
Does anybody else have final saying? We will have at the end of our program, we'll put on all the sites and links and stuff that you guys might need, but you can also reach out to us at Love Missions, and we will answer any questions that you want. But I would like my friends here to, any last thoughts that you would like to share with everybody?
The word that keeps in mind is think. Think before you post, think before your kid posts, and then think, how's my kid? It's almost like you have to say, okay, if I tell this child no, they're going to freak out. So let's have a preparation of, let me explain to you why. It's not me being the psycho parent and trying to, I think that conversation has to, like you said, starts very, very young. And let's say your well, my kid's already 16. You can still have that conversation.
Yes.
It's never too late to have that conversation with them. Heck, my kids are 22 and 19, and I have the conversations of, what you guys do behind my back?
Yes.
But it's not too late, because
No.
you can use that knowledge to help other people.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
think and talk and have an open conversation.
Open communication
Always.
is so
Definitely.
important.
Yeah.
Right.
And piggybacking on that, I would say think like a bad guy as well, because that is so outside of our norm for most of us.
Right.
But it's so important that we think about things from the opposite's perspective, so that we know when our kids are being vulnerable. We can take a look at those places that we might need to work on protecting our kids a little bit more, so we don't put our kids' driver's license on Facebook and things like that. It's hard, but it's what we're called to do as parents.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good.
And I would say just that was my takeaway too, was that conversation. But think too that there are going to be kids that your kids are talking to that don't have somebody to go to.
It's true.
And so you let your kids know that, we can have this conversation. I used to tell my kids, what's the worst thing that's going to happen to you when you talk to me about something? That there could be worse things if you don't. So
Yes.
let's
Right.
just have the conversation. If your friends are having a problem, come to me too, so that we can, talk about how we maybe even approach that parent
That's
to let
really
them know
important.
what's happening.
Such a good point.
Cybertip.org was something that I was going to at least shout out, because it's the nation centralized reporting system for online exploitation of children.
Wow.
So you can actually go and report online.
that's
It's on our
good.
website. School districts have it on their websites too.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Awesome.
wonderful.
That's great. And just to go with what you are also saying is that's really good, because sometimes children will see their friend in a bad situation,
That's
or
true.
they know that they're online communicating with people that they know that is a bad conversation, but they don't want to lose their friendship. They don't want to get that child in trouble. They're worried about their friend. And that, just what you said, how important that is for the children to have those conversations with your child, that you could actually be saving your friend's life, because you don't want something really bad to happen. These conversations that are in the dark are conversations that need to be brought into the light, so that we don't let anything happen to our friend or our brother or our
Yes.
sister or our neighbor or whoever it may be. It may not be you, but you might be the person to help your friend or neighbor or whoever that is. And that's so important for them to know that they could be the eyes for somebody else too.
It empowers them.
Yes.
It's wonderful.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And again, we'll have everything online for you at the end of our video. You can look at not download. You can look and write down everything that you need, so that you can help keep your children safe. That's what this conversation was about today. And if you have any questions, something we didn't go over, and there will be more of these conversations, so don't worry about that. We'll start highlighting certain areas, like maybe just apps, or we'll go in deeper to some of these things. But if you do have any questions in the meanwhile, please reach out to us, and we would love to have you. We would love to answer your questions. We'll also be doing human trafficking training, online training, and many more things. So keep on our social media so you can see when those things come up. Thank you again for being with us for Coffee and Conversation. Have a great day.
Thank you.